Hello, good evening. Welcome to another round of constant agitation. I am developing some film. It's been a while, my friends. Hello, low bass guy. Got a meeting in a few minutes. I can't stay long. Not a problem. Thank you for stopping by. Thank you for the pleasure of your company. Good evening, my dear anxious doe. Welcome. Welcome. We're going to be doing some films. It is also a pre-birthday stream. Today is the last day of my 30s. Tomorrow I cross into my 5th decade of existence. And, well, here we are. So thank you once again for the pleasure of your company. We're going to get started in a bit. And, if you've seen any of my film developing streams before, you know what's about to happen. But if you haven't, I hope you learned something. I hope this is something that I've been doing for 22 years, oh God. Since I first got the shutter bug, in my senior year of high school in 2003. So, welcome. That is where you're wrong, low bass guy. I don't assume anything. For all I know, you could be sitting in front of your computer naked, high as a kite and drunk as anything. I wouldn't know. I can't assume. You're there, I'm here. Tomorrow I am officially old. Yes, my back is immediately going to bend, my arm's going to fall apart, and the earth is just going to swallow. Just going to be like, nope, that's it, you're done. Boom! Nudge, nudge, wink, wink, say no more, huh? But yes, we're going to be developing some film. I also really need to... So, when I'm doing a film developing stream, I have to take my entire PC from my office area and bring it out here. And so, in doing that, it means I go down to one monitor. I fucking hate the now mandatory ad breaks. Good evening. L thing, am I pronouncing that correctly? Let me know if I'm not pronouncing that correctly. I definitely want to make sure I'm getting everyone's names right. So, just call you L. Awesome. Well, L, welcome and good evening. So, we've got stuff. I'm going to be developing 2 rolls of black and white medium format film. One roll is going to be Ilford Delta 100, and the other is going to be Ilford Delta 400. Same type of film, same type of process. The only difference is going to be the developing times. And that is because of the different film speeds. So, it's pronounced Billy Joel, yes. Billy Joel of Long Island. So I'm going to ask you to check out. So I am going to adjust the camera angle a bit so you can actually see. Hey! Thank you for the follow, L. Anything that happens on stream, follows, raids, bits, subs, whatever, you get written down into my little book of kindness here, my book of love. That way I can always remember the positives and the fun that we have on stream. So, 11:18, 25. Little thing with a follow. Thank you so much. So, Joel, Long Island and coffee. All right, so I'm going to lower the camera angle a bit so you actually see what the hell I've got. So, in order to develop black and white film, you need several things. You need chemicals, you need the film, and you need to find a way, you need to have a way to get from the camera, the exposed roll from your camera, into something like this. A developing tank. And this is something that has to be done completely in the dark. This has to be done completely by touch. It's the hardest part of the entire process. Once the film is in here, you're all set. It's just a matter of pouring chemicals in and watching times and making sure that, temperatures are all good and things like that. So, for demonstration, I've already loaded up my first roll of film. That's down below here. That'll be developed tonight. But this is the type of film, for those of you who don't know what medium format is, it's this. It's nearly twice the width of a 35 millimeter roll. Depending on the type of medium format camera you have, you can get usually 12 or 16 exposures, depending on the size filter you have. So if you're shooting in square format or rectangular format, square you get 12, rectangular you get 16. So what happens if you overdevelop or underdevelop? Good question. If you underdevelop, your images look kind of foggy. Your images look kind of foggy, really grainy. They have kind of a faded look to them. If you overdevelop, depending on how much you're overdeveloping, you could tend to blow out your highlights, so that you start getting much more high contrast type of images. And for some photographers, that's their aim. Especially when you're trying to shoot high dynamic range. So the rule there is like you overdevelop for the shadows, but you underdevelop for the highlights. So it all depends on what is on your roll. What's the effect you're trying to go to. But underdeveloped looks faded, gray, foggy. Overdeveloped, you start getting into much more high contrast. I mean, I just gave you a photography fact bot, so, But fine. Oh God. 2 hours, 2 hours or 3 or 4 hours, your film is ruined. Your film is ruined. Because the developer, so I'll explain what the stages are. So we go developer, stop bath, fixer. And the developing process takes around 10 to 15 minutes. And that's dependent on the temperature of the developer when you start. The ideal developing temperature is 68 degrees Fahrenheit or 20 degrees Celsius if you're not using American Freedom Units. But yeah, if you overdevelop, you are going to get much more contrastier images. But there is a danger of potentially blowing those out too much. So it's a bit of a delicate act, especially if you are trying to go for more high contrast images. The typical solution for something like that would be to develop your film as normal and then use something called contrast filters in the darkroom to add more contrast or less contrast to the exposure as needed. So yes, this is a roll of medium format. It's also known as 120 film. This was the standard type of film before 35 millimeter became the standard. 35 millimeter had been used as a Hollywood film standard for decades, and it only really became the universal standard for all photography only about in the 1960s, 1970s. Before that, this size, 120, used to be the standard. So I hope that answered your question, Elle. And if anyone else has any questions during the proceedings, feel free to fire away. So I will now explain how we get the film from this to in here without the use of a darkroom. And the key to all of that is right here. That is absolutely correct, Elle. So those are the standard ratios. When I learned how to shoot medium format in college, I learned, I had a Holga. That was my first medium format camera. It was a piece of shit plastic camera, and it had, you could swap out the filters so that you could shoot in either square format, 1x1, or 6x7. .35 millimeter, as I said, is a Hollywood standard, and once that became the photography standard, that's what we all followed. So yeah, all right. So the key to getting your film from here to here is this. It is a film changing bag. It is a double-lined black bag. So everything goes into this end. And then you zip it up, you Velcro it up, and then at the other end are these two sleeves. You shove your arms in there, and completely by touch, you take the film off of here, and you load it onto this. You load it onto this spool, which is adjustable. These types of spools are, you can use for 35 millimeter or 120. So yeah, you can, again, this is adjustable. I'll adjust it right here. So now this is set for 35 millimeter. And now it's set for medium format. And I prefer these types of reels. If you look real closely, you see that the guides, the entry guides to guide the film onto, are much wider than a lot of other plastic spools, which just have little tiny guide teeth, and they're a pain in the ass. They are. I've done it in school when that was my only option. But oh my God, this makes life so much easier, especially because you cannot see what you're doing. You must do this by touch. But anyway, you've personally been wanting a twin lens reflex for the longest time, maybe once a year. I see people use TLRs, and I kind of pine and I lust, but I'm perfectly content with my Pentax 645 SLR. It produces great results. Anxious Still, you asked me what shoots where these two rolls are from. So this roll that I have in my hand, this is Ilford Delta 400. This was when I was my most recent trip to Boston. I was doing cemetery hopping, specifically in Lexington and Concord, Massachusetts. The 100 speed, the Ilford Delta 100 that I have below, that was from my most recent shoot with my good friend Danielle. That was the non-binary themed shoot. So, all right. So medium format film has a paper backing. What you are looking at here is not the film, obviously. It's the paper backing. The plastic film is actually behind this paper backing, and I'll show you what it looks like after I've finished putting the film on. But in any event, once the film gets loaded onto here, it goes onto a black centerpiece, it goes into the developing tank. Then I have my light tight funnel with the tank lid. It screws on, and you're ready to take it out of the bag and ready to develop. So I'm going to do that right now. And again, this is the hardest part of the entire thing because this has to be done by touch. And if you don't have a darkroom or you are nowhere near a darkroom, this is really the only way to do it. Before I start doing this, I'll take a nice plug and shout out the web creative community, which I am part of. In dribs and drabs, I get very active and then I fade because life happens, and life has been happening a lot. I've had a very busy autumn. Autumn is kind of my busy travel season because I despise summer. I despise the summer. While everyone's out getting summer sun, I'm in a polycule with my air conditioners. So now, October, November, I am traveling. I am living it up. So, all right. Everything is in. So yes, if you are a creative person and of any stripe, join the web community Discord. It's a happening place. Okay. I have the film. I have the spool. All right. And I'll just give you the narrative play-by-play. And I've now taken off the protective seal. And where's the film? Where's the film? There's the film. Grab the edge of the film. Load it onto... Where's my spool guides? There they are. All right, loading now. We are loading. There are 2 ball bearings at the start of the reel, which grab the film and pull it. Now, once you get near the end of the film, you start to feel a little tension, and that's because the film is attached to the center plastic piece by a piece of Scotch tape. So as soon as I start to feel that tug, I know I've near the end of the film. I take the tape off, load the film the rest of the way. All right, it's fully on the spool now. Where is my plastic pylon? That ain't it. There you are. All right, it's on the plastic. Fondle the naked film, yes. All right, it's in the tank. Funnel's going on now. And we are good. There's the funnel. There's the lid. And the film is now in here. Cyronius. Again, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. So this is the paper backing that protects the film. White side means it's unexposed. Black side means it is. So when I showed you the roll initially, it was on the exposed side. But that's what it looks like. And I can chuck it. So now the hard part is all done. Hard parts are all done. Now we get ready to develop. So beforehand, before the stream started, I labeled my tanks. I put 400 to let me know that I've got the 400 roll in here and the 100 in the other tank, because again, those are two different developing times for two different. Oh, let me lean this back up for a moment. For two different film speeds. So I don't know how many of you out there know what film speed means. Some of you may have heard of film speed, at which point tomorrow when I turn 40, my spine's going to curve, the earth is going to swallow me whole, and yeah. But the film speed, you might have heard 100, 200, 400 speed, and you're like, what the hell does that mean? That is the measurement of the film's sensitivity to light. Smaller numbers mean that the grains of silver in the emulsion are smaller. And it means that you need that they don't need a whole. You can take them out in very bright conditions. They don't need a whole lot of light to react. And because the film grains are smaller on a 100 or 200 speed roll, that means the developing time is less. The developer does not need to sit with the film as long. 400, 800, 1600, 3200. The silver grains are bigger. You still can't see them with the naked eye. The film grains are bigger, so it needs more. You need to have the aperture open longer for light to leave an exposure. And so the developing time takes longer. All right, so this is in the tank. So what chemicals do we use for this? There are 3 required chemicals for this. I use 5. And I will explain what each one does. The first, and obviously the most important one, is the developer. This starts the whole process. So this is not a brand endorsement. I use Ilford chemicals because I shoot Ilford film and I just find it easy to keep things consistent. You do not have to use ID11. Kodak D76 is another great one. I used that all through high school and college. Do I have those numbered, memorized, what? Like the developing times? But yes, so that starts the process. So this chemical I have to prepare several hours before. I usually do it a day or 2 before, because while all the other chemicals I'm about to use can be made at room temperature, this is in powder form, and it gets dissolved. You dissolve it in water that is at least 104 degrees Fahrenheit or 40 degrees Celsius. So and it has to cool back down to room temperature. If I were to pour 104 degree film developer into this, that instantly boils the film. Hi, fantastic! Welcome. Oh, there was another comment I missed. L asked me, so you would rather go with a TLR? So, fun fact, L, I've never used a TLR in my life. That is an oversight in my film experience. I've only used SLRs as far as film is concerned. I would like to learn how to use a TLR. Those would be fascinating. So that is the first chemical. And so for 400 speed film, that is 14 minutes at 68 degrees Fahrenheit. And if the developer is colder, there's a conversion. There's a conversion I have to do. If it's colder, you develop for longer. If it's warmer, you develop for quicker. I do have a chart for conversion, which I printed out and didn't actually bring with me. So if my developer temperature when I measure it is higher or lower than 68 degrees, I'm going to have to adjust accordingly. The next chemical I use is Stop Bath. and it does exactly what it says on the tin. It stops the developing dead in its tracks. This is concentrated form. This gets mixed at a concentration of 1 part chemical to 19 parts water. And the stop bath only lasts 30 to 60 seconds. Not long. The second most important chemical, and the final of the mandatory chemicals, is Fixer. What Fixer does is it fixes the exposure in place and makes it safe for the film to come out in daylight once it's done. Fixer, what that does, the chemical action that it does, is that it removes any remaining undeveloped silver that's on the film, thus leaving the final imprint of the exposure and makes it light safe. The 2 additional chemicals that I use for this is only to shorten the amount of time, because once it's done in the Fixer, you can then let your film rinse in open running water for 15-20 minutes. I don't usually like to do that, especially if you are in a place that you have to pay for water, so that can wind up being costly. So what I use after the Fixer and the first rinse is I use a chemical called Wash Aid, which removes any remaining lingering Fixer and reduces my final rinse time down from 15 minutes or so down to 5. And then the final chemical I use is something called Ilfotol. And the analogy that I always use is that it's jet dry, but for film. You know how if you have a dishwasher, you use jet dry so that it doesn't leave water spots on your dishes. Ilfotol, it's the same exact idea, but for film. It prevents your film from getting water spots as it dries, because it is a bitch to edit out water spots in post-production. Water spots and fingerprints are just ugh. Fingerprints are the absolute worst, though, because nothing ruins a nice exposed image by then a big fat fingerprint just right on your film. Just so. All right. You've heard me yak enough. Now it's time to actually get my chemicals ready to go. So, as I said, I made Developer a few days ago, so it is now to the proper temperature. And there are 3 ways to use Developer for developing. You can use... Can I slide my finger across your film instead of... There you go. Only if you want a post-production nightmare. So I've made my Developer. So it's in this nice brown jug here. There's no booze in here. And you can use Developer one of 3 ways. You can use stock Developer right out of the bottle. And you can use that. That's your quickest development time. Then there is 1-to-1, which is 1 part Developer to 1 part water. That's the method I use. To me, that tends to have the most even developing. And then if you really want to draw out the developing, you can use it 1-to-3. 1 part Developer, 3 parts water. 1-to-1 is what I've always used. I'm going to chug 1 liter Developer, and then shit starts to happen. Literally and figuratively. So I'm going to use the 1-to-1 method. Now, I already know from experience that the developing tanks that I use hold 20 ounces of liquid. And if I were to forget, I can always look either on the bottom of the developing tank, it usually tells me, or I can open the lid. Remember, this is a light, tight funnel, so the film is fine. And on this particular tank, it actually tells me, for film size 120, actually it's 18 ounces. But I like nice round numbers, so I always just round up to 20. So I'm going to prepare that right now, and I'm going to get a temperature reading on that while I prepare the other chemicals. So let's get 10 ounces of water in here, and I used distilled. It's best to use either filtered or distilled when you are making chemicals, when you're making your chemistry, because the natural impurities, minerals, whatever, chlorine, fluoride in regular tap water could be the difference. It could it may have a negative effect on your film developing. Obviously, use tap water if that's all you have. Hey, yep, there's Parker. There's Parker with the hydrate. Salute. All right, so that was 10 ounces of water. Now I'm going to pour 10 ounces of developer in here to get myself up to 20. Yeah. Cool. The stop bath I've already made and I've already measured out, so when it is made, it's the only chemical that has a color. It looks like a very dehydrated person's piss. If your urine looks like that, please hydrate. For the love of God. And then Fixer. Fixer I already made before the stream, and so that is all set. So I want to get a temperature on the... I'm hoping, since I've raised the thermostat... Since I raised the thermostat up to 68 to get these chemicals up to temperature, otherwise I would have to take out my my film temperature adjustment device, which is a hairdryer. The only chemical with a color is the stop bath, and the only chemical with a scent is the Fixer. Hey, Maple Glades! Good evening. Welcome to some pre-birthday film developing. How are you doing? Heat gun is what you use for candles. I mean, I have a... I have a hair dryer when I have to adjust, because usually my chemicals tend to be a bit colder than... because I usually keep my house at like 62, 63, because I'm standing here, I'm broiling. I am sweating like a stuck pig right now. So I got my 3 mandatory chemicals up. After this stream is done, I'm going to turn the heat back down and and just lie in my bed, you know, with the fan on. So, all right. So I got my chemicals. I have my 400 speed film. So I radiate heat like it. Oh, I don't sparkle. Oh, those are the vampires now, aren't they? But I am a furnace. What's my film temperature? Oh. my my plan to actually raise the temperature of the house so that my chemicals actually worked. What's the temperature on what's my thermometer reading? It's actually reading a very nice temperature. It's reading just about 69 degrees. So that'll work. And what about my fixer? Yeah, fixer, same temperature. Good. I don't need to actually do any adjustments. I can actually keep to the 14-minute time. Cool. So, let's put up... Oops. Step 1 developer. Is my dev timer set to 14 minutes? Yes, it is. Okay, cool. So yes, so the first roll I am developing is the 400 speed roll. That is 14 minutes. So with that, guys, gals, and non-binary gingerbread pals, let us begin our developing. So I'm just gonna lower the camera again just a bit. Your alarm is in 6 hours. Oh, shucks. All right. So once I pour this chemical into the developing tank, can I quote a subbed anime? Go ahead. Oh, God. All right. The thing is, I have no control over the damn ad breaks. So let me just pull up a separate window for Twitch so that I actually know when the damn ad breaks are coming. Blarg. All right. All right, 16 minutes until the next ad. So, yes, quote a subbed anime with another quote. Once I pour this developer into the tank, I am committed for the. I cannot go anywhere after that. So. Oh, it's those small bite ads. Ugh. Let me just... Yep, that's developer. Developer has... None of my chemicals have a smell except for fixer. Fixer smells like vinegar. It smells like that Easter... Like that Pos Easter egg solution that you do with the vinegar and the colored tablets. It's the only one with the smell. That's how I can tell the developer and the fixer apart. So... Until I do this. All right. 400 speed film. I will hydrate in a moment, bot. Take the thermometer out. Here we go, everyone. Start the clock. How much money do you have to give Twitch to not get ads? If you subscribe to me, it's $6 a month. That takes the ads away. We do constant agitation for the first 30 seconds. Hey! Or if you have Prime, you can get a free sub. So for the first 30 seconds, we do constant agitation. That covers the film and developer. That starts the process. And then at the top of every minute, we're going to constantly agitate for 10 seconds. Rin, you are going into the Book of Kindness for the sub. And for the gift sub! Parker, you just got a gift sub from Rin. All right. I am Rintastic. You are in the book. Enjoy your emotes and your no ads. Thank you so much. All right, 12 minutes. We're 2 minutes in. Time for some more constant agitation. So you may be noticing what the bars on the bottom of your screen are. They're pretty self-explanatory, but for every 10, if we get to 10 subs, I will be doing a giveaway of one of my photos. I'll be doing a giveaway for one of my framed photos, and if I get to 2,000 bits, then I will give away one of my enamel gaming nerd pins. Just as a way of thanks to all of you for supporting me, supporting the channel, because any money that I earn on Twitch goes right back into my photography. So I appreciate the additional support. There you go, Parker, using the Chaos Bee. All right, while the timer is going, I'm going to start getting my sink going. So if you have to piss, I advise you do it, because we're going to have running water. And this is so that I can get my rinse water to temperature. Because ideally you want to keep all of your temperatures roughly the same. So if you start at 68, between 68 and 70 degrees, you kind of want to keep all of your temperatures, including the rinsing water, to that temperature as well. Fluctuations, like spike fluctuations, can adversely affect the developing. I mean, black and white film on the whole is pretty forgiving. It's not like developing color film, which I've never done, but I've read about it and I want to do it. But color film is much harder. I mean, the chemicals are a lot more dangerous in color film developing. And also, black and white film, you're developing at room temperature. Color film, you are developing at temperatures of at least 100 degrees Fahrenheit. So yeah, I mean, this is not particularly thrilling. It's a time-involved process, as all good things are. So, since we have some time to kill before we get to the stop bath part of the program, I'm in the middle of getting ready for my first ever craft fair / market. So here in the Capital District of New York, there is an organization called A Big Gay Market. And it is a gathering. It's an event that occurs multiple times throughout the year in the Capital District. And it's a bunch of queer vendors getting together, selling shit. Art, jewelry, nerd stuff, clothing, just a bunch of great stuff. And I will be there for the very first time in December selling my photography. So I will be selling some of my queer photography. I will be selling some of my death photography, my cemetery stuff, and I'll be selling some of my nature stuff. I am quite excited. I'm not nervous. If I turn a profit, I will be delighted, though. I do not expect to do that for this first one. But, maybe people like the not safe for work grids. So, it's a possible. Oh, there was one thing I forgot to do before I started the stream, and that was set up my drying rod, which is upstairs. So I'll have to do that while the film is in final rinse. Race upstairs and do that. Well, that's my temperature. Oh, all right. Nope, we're gonna need to raise you. Can't have my developing my rinse water be 54 degrees. Only a little biased. You're allowed to be a little biased. As a treat. So the reason why I have to constantly agitate this every minute is so that there's always fresh developer moving over the film. It's you keep it by keeping the agitation going constantly. It evens the developing so that one part of the film doesn't get more developed than the other. For those of you out there who are joining me this evening, how many are you? I've got Twitch tells me there's 5 of you watching, so thank you for joining me. Thank you for spending some of your Tuesday evening with me. The night before my 40th birthday. This is the last night of my 30s. So thank you. Thank you for spending your time with me. I also do video game streams if you are a newbie here. I usually do those on Friday evenings. I will not be doing one this Friday evening because I will be in Philadelphia for the annual PAX Unplugged convention. 3 days of board and tabletop goodness. So that is how I'm going to begin 40. Thank you both very kindly, Rin and Anxious Doe. Love you both. All right, we're warming up. Not warm enough, though. We're not even at 60 degrees yet. Which is hilarious because when I was doing film developing over the summer, I had my cold on, like the tap on full cold, and the coldest it got was 72. I miss your face. Be careful PAX doesn't bankrupt you. If I go broke, it'll be temporary because December I have 3 pay periods. I have an extra paycheck coming in December, so. There we go. Now we're starting to get there. Now we're above 60. 2 minutes! And now we're too warm. Make up your mind. This is like one of the biggest reasons why I miss my college darkroom and my college photo lab, because we had specialized thermostats and filtration. Like if I turned the thermostat to 68 degrees, I got 68 degree water. I don't have to adjust a sink faucet by micrometers to get the difference between ice and lava. Final minute. So what's going to happen is things are going to move pretty quickly. I'm going to dump out the developer, and then I'm going to pour in the stop bath. And the stop bath I will be constantly agitating for about 30 to 45 seconds. I have an answer to that, Anxious Doe, but I will answer that in just a moment. Ah, yes, good to see that my gut makes an appearance in the other camera, like I'm frickin' Alfred Hitchcock. All right. Developer out. Stop bath in. And this does exactly what it says on the tin. Stops the developing dead in its tracks. 4, I'll usually do this about 15 times. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right, stop bath is pretty much done. Stop bath does not take long. What's my rinse temperature? We're still, now we're above 70. Okay. Stop bath out. So the active component in stop bath, what stops the developing, is citric acid. That's the main component of stop bath. Which means that it's also the only one of my chemicals that, if it is kept in storage for a long time, will actually start to go moldy. Like, I'll actually start to see mold forming at the top of the stop bath. All right. Fixer basically works like regular developer as far as the constant agitation of it. It's between 2 and 5 minutes. I usually just shoot for 4. Nice middle ground. And just like the developer, it's constant agitation for the first 30 seconds, and then agitation for 10 seconds at the top of every other minute. Or every minute, not every other minute. There are some specific games, Anxious Doe, that I have in mind. These were games that were introduced to me when I was going to our local board game cafe in Troy, Bard and Baker. So Brass Birmingham, which is a love child between like Lords of Waterdeep and Seven Wonders, set in Birmingham, England during the Industrial Revolution. It's a resource management game that's definitely crunchier than Lords of Waterdeep. Innovation, which is an amazing deck builder. Daybreak, which is basically Pandemic, except that instead of viruses, it's global warming. There's an expansion now out to Wormspan that I might get. They're also doing a sneak peek multiple times throughout the convention of the upcoming new 5th edition, D&D 5th edition Eberron supplement. What's my temperature now? 70? Yeah, I can work with that. What? Yeah. Yeah, I'm agitating slightly early, but that's all right. You're welcome. But yeah, they're running sneak peeks of it all convention long. And then we'll see whatever else I get, because yeah, it's large. It's after that is going to be vibes based. They're also doing. I saw this on the. If anyone goes to that, it would probably be Wyatt or Eric, because I know Wyatt is probably one of the biggest, most giantest fanboys of Eberron that I know. All right. So now we're going to dump the fixer out. Fun fact about fixer, though, before I dump it out. If I had an actual darkroom and could develop my own prints, I would not be dumping this out. I would be using this for the prints that I would be making. But because I don't have a darkroom and because I am not an industrial developing lab, we're just going to pour this. If I was a developing lab, an industrial developing lab, I would be saving this fixer because there are very trace amounts of silver now in here because it had to come off the film. And when I used to work at the Walmart Photo Lab, we had actually sitting behind the machines a bucket that would collect the used fixer coming out of the print machines and the film developing machines. And we'd pour those into a machine called a silver reclamation unit. And then when it was full, Kodak, we'd send it off to, I forget, it was either Kodak or Fuji, and they would recycle that silver or they'd use it for new film production. All right, the next step in this fun venture, first rinse for 1 minute. Next, we come up with the wash aid, which will remove any residual fixer. Now, again, so I've now used all of the mandatory chemicals. At this point, I could let the film rinse in that sink for about 15, 20 minutes. But I do not want to sit here 20 minutes with, my thumb up my ass. So there could be other things up my ass instead. However, I'm a little busy at the moment. All right, first rinse is done. So now we're going to move into the wash aid. Let me get the lid. And this is going to be for 2.5 minutes. And this is 2.5 minutes of constant agitation. There is no break. So this is the part of the program where you get your arm workout in. Hold on. Okay. Yeah, normally I'd be paying attention as to when ad breaks are coming up, but again, once I start this process, I am basically committed until it's done. So I'm not checking ad breaks. Thank you, Parker. I knew you were going to do that. So and I say this, Parker, with all love and kindness and grace in which it is intended. Fuck you. Fuck you, parentheses, affectionate. Speaking of which, Parker, I hope to run into you at PAX. I know you're working there. You're working it again. So person of many talents, yes. All of the bee emotes are done by my excellent friend and wonderful artist, goes by the name of Glitching Icarus. They're not on Twitch a whole lot. I mean, they don't stream. They've never streamed, but they do great work. And they go by Glitching Icarus on Instagram, and I think Blue Sky. I'm pretty sure it's the same handle. Woo! Starting to leak a little there. The lid was coming undone. So I will pass along that message there, Anxious Do. She does awesome, awesome work. All right, the wash aid is done. We're going to go to the final rinse, which is 5 minutes. And the wash aid, when it's done, has a very sudsy appearance. It's not soap. And at this point, because the fixer has already done its work, I can actually open the tank and let it do its rinse. So that is exactly what I'm going to do. Just going to let it run for 5 minutes. I'm actually going to be right back because I forgot to set up the drying rod upstairs. So I'll be back in just a moment. Aw, no one broke the stream. That's depressing. Very good, Rin. The chatbot will be most pleased. You are a good boy, and the chatbot will reward you with ribbons and candy. I think. All right, we have 2 minutes left on the rinse. When's the next ad break? Minute and a half. All right. So I'm going to run the ad now so that we're... Blackberry Rambler, not my favorite. I mean, I could do that. I could try to mail you some, Rin, but I'm afraid that because it's seltzer, it would explode in transit. Because I don't trust the occasional gorillas that work for the for UPS or USPS. I mean, all I've got for Polar Seltzer is strawberry lemonade and ice, and that's for one particular friend of mine that shows up because I'm not a seltzer fan. All right. Ad break is just about done, which means you all get to see the final step, which I need to unearth. The last step is Ilfotol, and that again is that's my I can. All right, final rinse is done. Next, the final step is the Ilfotol, the Jet Dry. So all I do for this, I don't pour the full 20 ounces in here. You only pour enough, just enough this stuff to cover the film, because a little bit goes a very, very long way. And this will only be for a minute. I'm leaving the water running because I have another roll of film to develop. There we go. Just enough to cover it. And what I mean by a little goes a long way is that when I mix this stuff, so it comes in a bottle that's about this size, and the mixing ratio is 1 to 200. 1 part Ilfotol to 200 parts water. So when I make that, I make it a liter at a time. So it's 1 liter, well, it's not 1 liter. It is 1 liter, it's 1,000 milliliters. 1 liter of water to 5 milliliters of the chemical. And I measure out that tiny quantity using a small syringe. And since I am now about to touch the wet film, it's time for some gloves. Do not get any ideas. I am not engaging in some light foreplay or heavy foreplay. All right. It's been a minute. Let's dump this out. And as I always say on these streams, to quote the late, great Raul Julia, from when he played Gomez in the Wizard of Oz. Yeah, right. I wish. In the Addams Family. Spirits above me, give me a sign. Shall I be joyous or shall I be damned? So here's our film. Do we have success? We do have success. There are images on there. There are dead things on here. Excellent, excellent well. Most splendiferous. They look very well exposed, and I cannot wait to run these through my scanner and see what we get. But I'm going to be right back. I got to go hang this up to dry. Back in a minute. Alrighty, right. Oh, and the music, the music ended too. I guess my my music budget ran out. Hold on. There we go. All right. Cool. All right. So let's put this all in the sink and let's get ready for roll number 2. Yep. Okay. All right, let's get my fun and tasty chemicals back together. Dev, stop and fix. Oh, Parker, you're so punny. All right, where are ya? Let's fix her. Developer, there we go. Fix her. Yeah, I've realized, even before I came out as bi, that puns and I are, we're not friends. That was Fixer. Stop Bath. That's Ilfotol. Stop Bath. Now I made just enough for these 2 rolls, so I should have exactly 20 ounces remaining. Oh, I like this. I haven't listened to the Final Fantasy X lo-fi collection. This is kind of nice. Very chill. Too much. Yeah, just slightly too much. So the next roll of film, the second and final roll of film I'm developing for tonight, is 100 speed film. So instead of a 14-minute developing time, it is going to be an 11-minute developing time. What can we say? We love out. 4, 8, 10. Yeah. It's like saying Semprini. Come on. Semprini out! Only true Monty Python fans will get that reference. Alright, developer stock and fixer. Oh, developer stop. Fixer is good. Let's get temps in here. Temperature should not have really changed at all, but I do have to check. Gloves are off now. And let me get my 100. All right, bud. All right, cool. Yeah. So once again, thank you for spending some of your Tuesday evening with me on my pre-birthday stream. Last day of my 30s. Tomorrow I begin the 5th decade of my existence. And the only way to go is onward. We are at temperature. So what I'm going to do is, since this timer is set for 14 minutes, I'm going to let it run down to 11. That is the only thing that changes in this process. It's exactly the same, otherwise it is just a little less time because the film grains, again, on a 100 speed film, the silver grains are smaller than on 400, so they do not need as much time in the developer. I'm making you feel old. Imagine how I feel. Like, there is a concert coming here in March, just before PAX East. Um, PlayStation is doing a concert tour celebrating 30 years of PlayStation. And just, yeah, so I think like a couple of days before, or maybe even the day before, I head to Boston for PAX East. They're coming here to Schenectady, Proctor's Theater. And I was like, I'm probably going to that concert, but at the same time, I'm like, oh my God, PlayStation came out 30 years ago. Get me the Geritol. Get me Life Alert. What do you mean I was 10 when the PS1 came out? Like, for the love of God. Yeah, I knew they were doing a tour, and when I saw that it was on the schedule coming here, and I went, oh, that is a probable going. All right, we're gonna get ready to start as we are just about at the 11-minute mark. And begin. Constant agitation for 30 seconds. Ooh. I've never been to one. I've seen them like on video and such, but I've never been to one live. Nice. The only holiday concert thing that I typically go to is Trans-Siberian Orchestra. Trans-Siberian Orchestra comes here basically every year, so I go see them. I'm like, all right, 15-minute drive? Cool, sign me up. Oh yeah, Trans-Siberian Orchestra puts on an amazing concert. I went solo last year. Ethan's been with me to a couple, but the sensory overload is a bit much. So, but not for me. So, I absolutely enjoy. There's an ad break about to happen, so enjoy your forced capitalism. Bum, bum, bum. Oh, I haven't done this in a while. It's secret chat time! It's a secret! You're in the secret chat because you have a subscription. That means you avoid the ad breaks. Yes. And the background music is the secret level music from Battle Block Theater. I also just love this game. Now you're talking. Okay, ad break over. And for those of you who eventually will watch this on YouTube, in which there is, I mean, if you have a good ad blocker, no ad break, then, you know, you just get 2 minutes of pure silliness. So. Anyway, back to this calm, gentle, soothing Final Fantasy X lo-fi thing. So, on a slightly more serious note, so this is something that I've been doing again for over 20 years now. I took Photo 1 in high school, basically because it was one of the few available classes to me as a senior in high school. My birth surname started with a W, and we used to register for classes by last name alphabetical. So by the time it was my turn to register for classes in semester, most of what I wanted was already full. And so to prevent me from having like half my day be study hall, my guidance counselor was like, just, what about photography? And I was just like, all right, fine. Shooting pictures with a camera, how hard can it be? And I fell hard for it. I spent so much time, as much time in the darkroom as I possibly could. It was wonderful. I still have my original 3 or 4 roles that I shot in that class. And on rare occasion, when I'm doing photo editing, I will walk us down memory lane at some of, baby's first shots. $1,298 days. I had to. Sorry. My life is one long song cue, you see. Two minutes before we reach the end of the developing stage and move into the stop bath. I'm listening to this, and I realize that I have not played Final Fantasy X basically since it came out. As I have with a lot of RPGs, I've played them once and never again. Aw, love is theft. Isn't that so adorable? So while there's a minute to go in the developer process, in the developer step, just a couple of shameless plugs. As you know, I am known professionally as Brian J. French. And if you are interested in seeing what I get up to art-wise, there's the link to my card page. It's got all my links, all the places you can find my photography smeared across the internet. I am working on a new website. I have a photography website, but I'm working to combine my entire internet presence into one hub. And also, I have a Patreon. $5 per month, and you can get a physical print from physical print from me. I pick one at random and I mail you every month. Do I have any holiday-ish prints? I think I have a couple on my Redbubble store, which is also in that on that card link page. Six, 7, 8, 9. A few more of these, and I'll be done with the stop bath portion of this. So when I have the house to myself, when Ethan is not here, I will alternate between two YouTubers. I will alternate between an ASMR person who goes on YouTube as Gentle Whispering ASMR. And the other, I mean, maybe the original ASMR person, Bob Ross. I'll jump onto the Bob Ross channel and fall asleep to an episode or two of The Joy of Painting. Yeah. But yes, again, everything else is the same. The only thing that changes is the developer time. Everything else is equal. There is one specific one, Rin, that I watch, or, well, listen to. It's a 1 hour long episode. It was never an episode. It was not an episode that was aired during the run of The Joy of Painting. It was actually a 1 hour instructional. It was an instructional tape. Bob Ross did a couple of those, and it is essentially a 1 hour long Joy of Painting episode. He just goes into more detail on his painting process. And that usually does the job. If I manage to stay awake through the entire episode, something's up. My brain isn't. My brain refuses to turn off. But yes, that's where I live on the internet. Those links on my card page. If you feel so inclined to become a patron or buy something from my Redbubble store or become a subscriber here on Twitch, again, I appreciate it very much. All that money goes right back into my photography. So whether it's keeping my website up or letting me buy some replenishment film and new chemicals or paper or ink for my printer, it all goes right back into it. And again, thank you so much for doing so. We got a few entries in the book tonight. I'm very, very pleased about that. That's very nice. As I get ready to bid adieu to my 30s. And you know, if this was something that any of you wanted to do, you can certainly buy a film camera, used film camera. They're cheap enough on eBay. Film and the chemicals are available as well. And all you need to do is just practice, like anything else. You do not need to be blessed by the spirit of Ansel Adams or Edward Weston or Dorothea Lange or Julia Margaret Hamilton. Not Hamilton, Julia Margaret Cameron. You don't need to be blessed by either of those to be able to pick up a camera and start shooting. Fun to have more? Yes. I know there's an ad break coming up in a couple of minutes, so there is that. All right, fixer step is done. We're going to go to the first rinse. So 1 minute in the drink. And I will get my wash aid ready. Wash aid, where are you? There you are. I am so looking forward to a big game market, though. Ethan has been telling me for years to do craft fairs and stuff, and I'd always been hemming and hawing about it. And then him getting an apartment 4.5 hours west of here, to be closer to his other partner, kind of lit a fire under my ass. Because suddenly there were a lot of voids in my life that I needed to fill. And I'm still working on the process of filling them. For example, I need to get back into my piano practice. All right, wash aid, 2.5 minutes. Don't trip over your headset cord, Brian. That would not be pleasant. All right. If I didn't have to go to bed in like an hour, I'd be like, maybe I should make myself a cocktail after work. After work. Oh God. No, I'm not at work yet. After the stream, you silly goose. Something I did not expect to happen in my late 30s. When I came out as bi, having a sudden desire to learn how to make cocktails. Didn't expect that skill tree. I do have a weakness for lemon drops, though. The fruitier the cocktail, the better. They are very tasty. The special occasion Brazilian steakhouse here that I very rarely go to also makes very good lemon drops. Given how well they went over the last the last one, I'm pretty sure that's going to happen. I think you don't have to worry your pretty little head. I will make one for anyone, anytime, provided I have the ingredients for it. All right, the wash aid is now done. Final rinse time. Ah, look at that sudsy footage. All right, let's run you in an open tank. Beautiful. Again, thank you all very much for spending some of your Tuesday evening with me. Always, always a joy to have your company here. If you missed it earlier, I will not be doing my usual video game stream this Friday evening because I will be in Philly. I'll be at PAX Unplugged. But I do intend on doing video game stream the next one will be the day after Thanksgiving. So Black Friday here in the States, of which I will be sitting at home doing nothing. My next, I'm hoping to also do an art stream 1 week from tonight. Now that choir is done, I have my Tuesday nights back for a couple of months. So I'm hoping to do. I have a lot of art that needs to be worked on. I have not just the stuff that I'm developing tonight, but also stuff that I haven't even touched yet from the last shoot I did, which is now almost 2 months ago. The non-binary themed shoot from Danielle, in which I will be making a new grid, a new pieces of. So I haven't decided yet whether I'm doing a Picardo or a Twitch stream yet. That'll probably be like day of decision. Probably Picardo, as that's the oldest stuff, and I want to start work. I want to actually finally start working on that and clearing that out. I mean, I have always enjoyed singing. It's something that I have been doing. I mean, I was in choir from first grade all the way straight through into college, and then I had to stop for like 15 years because, you know, you acquire a chronic illness and life happens along the way. I finished, I went back to school and, life happened. So, spring 2023, I was looking online because I really, really missed singing to see if there was a local community choir here. And there was. And that's, the rest is history. Next year, I am very much thinking about adding another choir to my list, the Albany Gay Men's Choir, which is now they're expanding their ranks. It's so it's open. The Albany Gay Men's Choir is now open to any queer male, any LGBT, anybody in the rainbow, in the LGBTQ alphabet soup. Basically, anyone who identifies as queer male can join this choir. So the question for you, Anxious Doe, then is it something you enjoy doing privately? Is it something that gives you joy, makes you happy when it's not performance? I mean, public performing is not going to be everyone's cup of tea, so. All right, let's get the Ilfotol. Ilfotol, there it is. All right. I always have to make sure that I'm pouring the right chemical in here. On this particular jug specifically, I have it labeled Ilfotol Last Step. It did once. I mean, I could basically say the same thing for me. Like, anytime I sang, at home or whatever, my ex stepdad would always criticize me. He'd always say, "Stop howling." But by then, my love, my enjoyment of singing and my participation in choirs and musicals up to that time had already taken root, and yeah, fuck off. Had he come into my life earlier, I might have felt similarly as you. Well, if it's something that you very much want to pursue again, do it. You know, d- do the work as anything else. As I've said already tonight, all it takes is time and practice. You do not need to be blessed by the voice of Pavarotti. As Cat Stevens once wrote, if you want to sing out, sing out. And if you want to be free, be free. Because there's a million ways to be. I love that song so much. I'd play it, except I'd get hit with a copyright strike. But the song is called If You Want to Sing Out by the artist formerly known, and he might be recurrently known as, Cat Stevens. I don't know if he is still going by the Yusuf name publicly, or at least as far as his music career is going. But anyway, we have finished roll number 2. So let's see what this one looks like. All right. We have nudity. Huh. Either this roll got half developed, or my camera settings were off, which is entirely possible because shooting with a film camera in the studio is much more, it's a little harder, but I'm curious. I will not definitively know for sure until I scan the film, but it looks like I might have gotten some hit or miss. Either way, well, that's it. Yeah, I'm gonna scan this roll and see what I've got. So, yeah. Let me go hang this up to dry. All right. After just taking a look at that roll again in white light, which these are not, it looks actually. I remember what happened for some of them. It looked like that for some of them. I remember the flash didn't go off, so some of them are going to look quite dark. So looking at that again, I'm thinking it's less developer problem in the developing process and more equipment error. But again, we'll know for certain once I scan them and look at them. Ah, the Cape Cod Crow. All right, awesome. Worth a shot. If it's something, try it once or twice, and if you find in your heart of hearts that it's not for you, At least you will have the satisfaction of knowing that you tried. God, the worst bit of advice I've ever been given in my life so far also came from the shining example of toxic masculinity that was my ex-stepfather. If at first you don't succeed, consider making failure your goal. I'm like... So there we are, my friends. We have developed 2 rolls of film, and I'm thinking that those will probably be an art stream. Probably not next Tuesday, because I do want to start actually working on the shoot I did almost 2 months ago, because that's been sitting there untouched, unloved. And I really want to start working on those. So I think the next art stream is going to be on Picardo, but don't quote me on that. I could change my mind at the last second. So that is basically it for me for tonight. Thank you so much again for joining me on my pre-birthday stream here on the final night of my 30s. It's been fun. Thank you for the love. Thank you for the follows and the subs from L Thing, and from Rin, giving a gift sub to Parker. So thank you so very, very, very. It's time for a photography fact. No, I'm wrapping up there, Stream Elements. You're too late. You're a little late on the draw. So let's see if there's anyone else streaming right now, doing an art stream that I can take you all over to. Let's see. All right. So let's see who is doing the art thing. Oh, Ursa Crafta once again. Let's see what Ursa's doing. Ursa is doing holiday spider sticker and card art. So let's and it looks adorable. Oh, she's doing a spider reindeer thing. That looks so cute. All right, we'll bring you over to Ursa Crafta. And it's always a pleasure having you in the chat. Thank you so much for being a constant in there. I do always enjoy your company. So thank you so much. All right, my friends. I will see you next week. We're moving on. We're going to raid Ursa Crafta. Until I see you again next time. Until I see you again. Stay healthy. Stay safe. I love ya. Also, if you celebrate it, enjoy Thanksgiving. As Fat Man in Metal Gear Solid 2 says, laugh and grow fat. Be well, everyone. I'll see you next time.